start off with Max Boltman from The Athletic.
Hey Jeff, I'm just curious, is there anything beyond opportunity that some of the players can get out of this stretch where they've had to play without so many kind of forwards at the top of the lineup?
Experience, and I think experience matters a ton. I think ultimately sometimes that can expedite um, development if they're ready for that experience, if they're ready for those moments. And a guy like Ras, certainly, I think he's a guy that's shown that he was ready for the opportunity, and then he's gained tons of experience. He's been out there 5-on-6. He's been out there 6-on-5, power play, penalty kill. That's hard experience to replicate if you have a full roster, and probably if you have a full roster and you're closer to making a run for the playoffs, he might not be getting that. So you hope that expedites his development. I think Zadina has shared times throughout the season 6-on-5, and now he's kind of exclusively 6-on-5. It wasn't a very good one, but he was out there 5-on-3 the other night when the game was on the line. If we have Burt and Larks and Fabs in the lineup, he might not be out there. I don't know that answer, but he was, and I think even through I don't want to say failure, but through struggles, and that 5-on-3 wasn't good enough, you learn, and sometimes that's the best way to learn. So I would say the experience gained out of a number of players is I use two examples, but there's certainly other guys is something that has been gained over this stretch.
And I imagine just kind of them having to kind of drive the bus and shoulder. I know not a ton of goals have gone in for some of these guys, but just having to shoulder that load in games probably is useful going forward.
For sure, they've had to go against other teams' best. They've had to play against other teams' best defensemen. That's not easy, and I think they're finding that is one of the things you're seeing a little bit with the offense, and especially the teams we've played. I mean, you look at the teams we've played: Dallas, Carolina, Tampa. Columbus is shorthanded compared to what they were, but in that stretch, I mean, that's some of the best decoys in the league. So, they've those things have been important for sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next up, Ansar Khan, I'm live.
Yeah, Jeff, I know offense carrying over to next season, I'm sure has a lot to do with injuries and skill level and all that. But as far as defense, the defensive improvement that you've shown this year, do you think that's something that's sustainable going into next season?
Yeah, I do believe so. Now part of it's pieces and who's, certainly on our decor this year, we had a number of guys that were big and heavy, traded a couple of them with Nemo and Merrill at the trade deadline. But, I do think the foundation that's been laid defensively, I think defense a lot of times just the understanding of how important it is and buying into that's going to ultimately be the difference between winning and losing. And, you saw it a few years ago with a team like the Islanders that bought into it, and they had, a good amount of firepower at that time. And so once they bought into it, they were good right away. And I think for us, it's more of understanding that that's a foundation for success, not only next year, but into the future, especially if you ever want to have the opportunity to get to the top. You have to be really good at it. And so I think guys' understanding of how important it is and getting better at things defensively certainly has the opportunity to carry over.
So that's like with the structure and the habits being ingrained, particularly for the young guys, are going to be the foundation.
For sure, understand. Again, one of the hard things to do in this league, or in any league, but certainly this league, is to produce offense and have great defensive habits. And I think the quicker you learn those defensive habits, the better you are. And so I think those guys learning the importance of playing from the D side of the puck. Those guys learning how hard you got to battle every single night in order to win puck battles. Those guys learning that if you come back and stop in your own end, you don't have to play as much in your own end instead of swooping around. All those things I think are valuable lessons. Now, sometimes you might lose a little edge over the course of the summer, but you get it back quickly when those things have been ingrained. And I think those guys have learned all those valuable lessons through the course of the season.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Next up, Trevor Thompson, Valley Sports Detroit.
Blash, you've talked about the development of a couple of players along the way that you've liked, but who gets your vote for most improved player of the year and why?
Most improved. Well, I guess, just on the onset, I would say, I was trying to go through my lineup, Trevor. Couple different guys I would think of. I don't know if I'd have one. We don't actually vote for that.
Yeah, I understand.
No. But a couple guys that come to mind. One, Adam Ernie. Now, most improved might not be the right word, though, because I think if you asked him, it would be more opportunity. And the reality is he's gotten more opportunity and done a good job with it, and so it's not necessarily for him about the improvements he's made. It's about him getting more opportunity, and then he's capitalized on that opportunity with good play. I would say Michael Rasmussen for me is the most improved player from a year ago, at least, and so I'd include the summer in part of that. He is clearly a better skater. He's clearly playing with more confidence. He's clearly doing a better defensive player. So he, to me, would be the guy from a year ago to today. He's probably come the furthest in terms of the development. I thought Philip Zadina did that a year ago over the course of the end of the season, where he made big improvements. And I think Michael Rasmussen has really done a good job with that.
Thanks, Blash. And one other thing, just looking back on Red Wing teams of the past, and I mean, the way the Red Wing way, leaving guys in GR to get their experience, some people would say they were overripe at the time, but the continuity was there through the system, bringing guys up. You were able to look at some guys down there and some guys who've been here a while. Is there enough in the system to continue that way, or do you see the rebuild continuing on by having to trade pieces, move out, or acquire some free agents to get where you want to go, or is there enough in-house from what you've seen?
I would just say, Trevor, I don't think there's any time in any organization that you can rebuild through trades and or free agent acquirement as your primary source of building your team. In order to make trades that are going to make real big impacts, you have to have really good pieces. You have to have those in-house already. For example, we got a really good player in Jacob Verana, but we had to trade a really good player in Anthony Mantha. The team we're playing, Columbus, traded a really good player to get Seth Jones. So you have to ultimately draft the players that are going to make your foundation or make your organization get to the championship level. You have to draft, and along the way, can you pluck a free agent here like Toronto did with Tavares? Yeah, but that's very rare, and it's only once you're really close to winning. It's way different than the old days. Can you trade a player and make your team maybe better for your own fit? Only if you have pieces in place. So it'll remain what it's been, and that's that you have to have homegrown talent in order to build your organization. That's just a fact. You look at the history over the last number of years, that's a fact. I think, today we sit with as good a player pool as we have. And I've thought that last year, and I thought that the year before, like a consecutive years. And that's just based on the number of picks that, going back to Ken Holland and into Steve Yzerman, that they've acquired. They've acquired tons of picks. And because of that, you're going to hit enough on it. And now the big question is, and I've said this forever about our young players when I was in GR, the question is, how quickly can guys become impact players in the NHL? And then how good are they going to be? Are they going to be good players? Are they going to be great players? Are they going to be elite level players? You just don't know that until they get here.
Thanks, Blash. Appreciate it. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Next up, Helene St. James, Detroit Free Press.
Hi, Jeff. I was just curious, with the way things ended last season so abruptly, do you at all give kind of a message going into this weekend to really appreciate this season, coming to an end what a hectic pace it has been, but nonetheless to just pause and appreciate this weekend.
Yeah, I think, Helene, to be honest with you, my message really to each player from our Zoom calls in the summer to, when we got together in camp, has been that message. Let's appreciate every single day that we have. And you never know, what tomorrow brings. And there was no greater lesson than last season on that. And a lot of times when you say that, you think maybe about your career being over or those types of things. But in all of a sudden a pandemic hit and we weren't playing anymore. And all of a sudden we were sitting in our basements and, nobody could really do anything. And so I think I've always been somebody to stress the importance of appreciating what you have in front of you today and appreciating the opportunities that you have and trying to seize on those opportunities. And I think this year, even more than ever, I've continued to harp on that. And I've, said something to the guys about it yesterday in practice. We had a couple of days, we had a really weird schedule this week, as you guys know. And I want to make sure that I just wanted to make sure that we all continue to recognize we got 2 NHL games ahead of us this weekend. And they're not for playoff spots. I get all that. There's still 2 NHL games, and those matter. Those are huge. And let's make the most of each one of those games.
You guys were never even able to take a team picture last year, right?
No, we did not.
Everybody scattered. Yeah. Bobby Ryan said yesterday he had a conversation with a young player saying, don't take these last 2 games off. You've worked too hard. You've come too far. And the young player said, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, you have to like that's the mentality. There's no senioritis or, summers here, that there's still some, everybody still recognizes that these games matter to the individuals, if not to people at large.
Yeah. And I would just say, we just got done with practice and I thought it was spirited. I thought it was focused. I thought it was a really good effort. It could have been a practice in the middle of the season when with us at any point. I did not get a sense at all that guys were checked out or that they, school is over. I think they all recognize that these games are again special. Like every game you play in the NHL is a special game, and so make the most of it. Now, that doesn't mean the game's going to go great. You never know how the game goes. Every game takes on a life of its own, but I do think our mentality will be right heading into the game.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Next up, Art Regner, DetroitRedWings.com.
Hi, Jeff. I missed Max's question, so forgive me if you answered this, but how important from an organizational standpoint and for each individual player playing in this Columbus series to win this series and not finish last in the division?
I think we want to play as good as we can every night, and we haven't necessarily said, okay, we don't want to do this or we don't want to do that or we don't want to finish last or we want to finish there. We've focused on being the very best we can every day. Waking up the next morning, learning from the day before, and then being the very best we can. And I'm not going to change our focus on that. Would I like to look at the standings and see us ahead of Columbus? Yeah, for sure. Do players like to see that? For sure. But I think our focus still has to be what it's been all season, and that's on doing the very, very best we can in the game that's in front of us today and executing to the very highest ability on a shift-to-shift basis.
I know I asked you a few questions about Joe Veleno's game, but I'm kind of curious, have you been pleasantly surprised by any aspect of his game, or is he pretty much where you thought he would be?
Well, first off, I don't know what he is yet because he hasn't had enough games, and so I think, we won't know that for 100 games or so. And I think you see, I've obviously been in this business a long time with a number of different levels, and guys can show you flashes and guys can show you disappointment, and you shouldn't overreact to either one of them. You have to kind of stay even keeled and see how guys continue to develop. I would say where he stands today, I've been happy with the progress he made from a year ago, especially with his body. I think that's a big step. And so, in terms of how he's played in the games, I think he's played good. He's played fine. Can he, how much, where does it go from here? Where does every game lead? Where does, when he's able to get a full season under his belt, how does he do? Those are all things that I think you got to stay patient with. But his body's in a way better spot than it was a year ago in terms of he looks way more like an NHL player today than a young prospect. I think his defensive instincts and habits are very good, and I know he's worked at that, and he's bought into the fact that's important. And then we'll continue to watch and see how he continues to progress.
Jeff, Gus Lindstrom and Dennis Czelowski have played well since they've been inserted in the lineup. How much improvement have you seen in their game? Have you been, again, for lack of a better term, pleasantly surprised by what they've been able to do since they've been back up with the Wings.
You know, I think both guys have had moments of doing good stuff, and both guys are showing some progress. And you know, I think Dennis has gained confidence with the puck. I think he's got to continue to balance when to hold on to it and when to move it. I think having poise is important, but I think playing fast and having puck speed is important, and that's just a balance he's continuing to learn. You know, certainly I think, you know, his improvement needs to continue to be a factor in power play where, you know, can he become an elite power play type guy, but he's harder in the corners than he used to be. He's better defensively. So he's made improvement. I think that's a positive thing for him and for us. You know, I think Gus has done a good job. I didn't think Gus had a very good camp. And you know, I don't know he had a great start down in GR. And I don't know the answers why. It happens. Everything's fast and you're making quick judgments. I would say since he's been back up here, every game he's gotten a little bit better, and he's showing that he has the ability to be a guy who could potentially be a good defender in this league, who can move a puck. And that's a gold in this league. Like if you can defend great and break your team out fast and play fast in the neutral zone, that's a huge commodity. And you'll never get paid as much as the guy who puts up tons of points, but you're probably more valuable a lot of times, or as valuable. You know, now, you know, he's got to make certain improvements to make sure that that he can do that and make sure he can be a good impact. But both guys have played, I'd say, solid hockey for us, and we've been pleased with it.
And finally, Jeff, one more from me. We may not mention him much, but the addition of Mark Stahl this year, how critical was him coming into this lineup and stabilizing the blue line?
Critical, you know, not alone, but critical. I think on the ice, he helped us a ton because he, you know, for whatever minutes he played, 18, 20 minutes, he made good decisions. And ultimately, I've said this lots, you know, hockey is a chaotic game, and you need players who can sort through the chaos and make good decisions in and outside of the system. And he's done that. You know, he probably isn't as fleet of foot as he once was, but he's been a good player for us for sure. And he's also a really big body who has been hard to play against. He's leaned on guys. He's created stalls. So I think, you know, just from that aspect, he's been a real help to our hockey team. But I'd also say, you know, he's been an excellent guy in the locker room. He's got a great personality to him. He's kind of the defenseman spokesperson a little bit, sticks up for the decor and in a good way. And so he's been a real important element of our team.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Last question, Ted Colton, Straight News.
Hey, Jeff, mine is more league view. I mean, the playoffs starting next week. Just curious, what are you going to be looking at I mean, do you think there's going to be any trends here coming up, or just the fact all these teams know each other so well from playing each other the whole season? What's going to be the key to coming through there in the playoffs?
It's going to be an interesting, you know, playoffs in the sense that you're playing in your own division to get out of your division, and you've done that, you know, all season long. It'll be interesting once those teams get out of their divisions. By that point, you're into really good teams, so I don't think it's as big a deal. It'd be super interesting if all of a sudden we mixed and started playing each other because, you know, it's hard to see for sure. I think all the divisions are good. Is there better divisions? And I don't know if there isn't, you know, because you don't play against each other. So does somebody's record mean more in this certain division compared to this division? It's really hard to say. We can all have our opinions, but we don't actually know. You know, I think over the course of the season, having played each other lots, you know, there's familiarity. There might be animosity. Certainly over any playoff series, generally animosity develops over the series. Maybe it starts earlier, you know, and that's good for everybody. It's just more passion and more entertainment. So it'll be very fun to be a part of, and it'll be good to watch.
That Final Four could be kind of weird. I mean, it's almost like college football or college basketball. None of those four will have seen each other all year. Do you kind of like that little wrinkle?
Do I like it? I actually like it. I actually don't. Yeah, I kind of like it, to be honest with you. But you know, in order to do it, you have to balance
Yeah.
schedules, and I'm not sure it's the best thing in the huge picture of the league moving forward. But certainly it'll be neat. It'll be neat to see. It'll be, I mean, it's gonna be hard, you know, like it is every year. I mean, you get the Final Four, you're a heck of a hockey team, and you know, we all make, you know, big deal on who wins it, and I get that for sure. But there's a lot that go into it. Attrition. In terms of how many, you know, how your players survive through series, a little bit of luck, you know, all those momentum, all those things. And so by the time you get to the Final Four, man, you get good hockey teams. It'll be fun to watch and see how everybody does.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
That's it for us today. Thanks, everyone.